today we're going to transpose the exercise in your book that's at the top of page 149. It's in the key of C major, so let's get started. We're going to transpose this exercise in two different ways, and notice that I'm only going to do the treble clef because the bass clef is identical, and you'll have to do the same thing in your bass clef as well. But for our purposes, we'll do the treble clef. Now we've got our staff lines. We're in the time signature 4/4, and we're in the key of C major, as indicated down below the treble clef there. Your first three chords are given. We've got C major, and then we've got a G major. Now you'll notice it's in the first inversion. That means the third of the chord, which is the B, is at the lowest tone, and anytime the third of the chord is the lowest tone, we're in the first inversion. In the pop symbols up above the chord, we can see that it's not just a straight G, but it's a G/B. That means it's a G major triad with a B at the bottom. And then, of course, we're returning back to C major again at the end. Our Roman numeral in the key of C major, a C is a 1. A G is built on the fifth step of a C major scale, and so we assign the number 5 to it, a Roman numeral 5. It's not just a 5, it's a 5/6. The 6 indicates the first inversion. Now, where in the world does that 6 come from? The 6 comes from, if you look, the lowest tone is a B. From the B up to the G is a 6th, interval of a 6th. And so that's where that little number 6 comes from, that's down next to the Roman numeral 5. And we would read this as either a 5/6 or a dominant 6. I prefer 5/6, it's just a little more concise. And then in our third chord, of course, we're coming back to the same chord that we started on. The only difference is it's whole notes instead of half notes. This is what your book gives you. Now we're going to move everything up a half a step. And we're going to first go from C major to the key of C sharp major. So in this case, I can simply add accidentals to my notes and raise everything in the first chord. And notice from the bottom up, we have C, E, and G. I'm going to raise it to C sharp, E sharp, and G sharp. And that will now give us a new chord name of C sharp major. My Roman numeral stays the same because I'm working in a new context now of the key of C sharp major, which I'll change in just a moment. Our second chord, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to add sharps to each note, simply so that I can raise each note up a half a step, because the key is being raised a half a step. So I now no longer have a G/B as my chord name, but I'm going to have a G sharp/B sharp. That's a G sharp triad with a B sharp in the bottom. Again, my Roman numeral will stay the same because the Roman numerals are all about context, not chord name. And then, of course, we're going to come back to our final chord. We're going to do the same thing as the first chord, raise each tone by adding sharps, and that changes our chord name to C sharp as well. And of course, if I haven't done so already, then you change the key name underneath the treble clef there from C to C sharp. Now, we've raised our entire piece a half a step from the key of C to the key of C sharp major. Now let's start over again with what your book gives you, back to the key of C major again, and we're going to raise our chords up a half a step again as well, but instead of going to C sharp major, we're now going to go to D flat major, which is going to sound the same as C sharp major. They are enharmonic keys. They sound the same, but they are spelled differently. Notice we still have the 6 in the second chord from the bottom to the top. That's where the little 6 comes from in the Roman numeral. And then our final chord should look the same as our first chord with the exception of the note values. Now, let's start with our first chord, and we have a C major triad there. We're going to raise it up a half a step to a D flat major this time instead of C sharp. So in this case, I have to actually change the note names. You can see that I've done that there in the first chord. That's also going to change the name of our chord to D flat major. Now again, everything has to be moved the same distance. If you move the key up a half a step, you have to move every note up a half a step. The second chord, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to change all of our note names, moving everything up a half a step, but we're dealing in flats now, and so I now have an A flat major over a C in the bass. That 6 still stays there because I have a 6th from the lowest tone, which is the C, up to the highest tone, which is an A flat. And then again, my final chord should look the same as my first chord, except for the fact that it's whole notes instead of half notes. Don't forget, you've got to change your key name. Roman numerals all stay the same. And we have now completed raising our original exercise at the top of page 149, 1/2 step, and we've done that in two different ways. First way, we went from C to C sharp major, and then we came back and started at C again, and we moved from C major to D flat major. Hope this helps.